Love GAA history? Then you love going deeper with Over the Bar's Cordia Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Kieran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.
Since the dawn of the GAA in 1884, the telling of its stories have been just as important as the sports. Through the years, heroes and matches have been immortalised, inspiring generation after generation. But some of its most important stories have also gotten lost or turned into legend. And in this series, we will explore some of the GAA's most fascinating forgotten tales, separating rumour from reality and myth from the truth that is often more amazing than the fiction. I'm Michael Foley.
And I'm Kieran O'Hara.
So join us for Over the Bar, exploring the histories of the GAA.
Money, 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 money.
Oh, that's just lovely, Kieran. Lovely to hear your dulcet tones. To welcome everybody to Over the Bar, exploring the GAA's hidden history, our latest episode, Kieran. And today we're exploring one of those big bang moments, really, in GAA history, aren't we? One of those moments that when you see something like this happen, when something like this materializes and comes into being, you kind of already know straight away, I mean, literally, minutes after it comes into being, that nothing will ever really be the same again, isn't it?
That's it. And you also know, because from day one, whenever money becomes an issue in the GAA, that it's going to get messy.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really messy. Because, like, filthy lucre was invented as an expression for the GAA.
Well, it's a kind of one of those. When it comes to sponsorship, is our topic today. But when it comes to that, it's everybody wants some, but nobody wants it either. Nobody wants to be seen to want it, but everybody wants it. This is back at that time. Now, it's obviously things have changed and so on. But at that time, you didn't want to be seen to be too keen.
They haven't changed that much. Like, it's still the awkward subject.
Yeah. Yeah,
every
right.
row is about, we can't take that money because the GAA is purer than this. And actually, yes, it's an amateur organisation, but at every level, it needs money to run.
Absolutely. It's that simple. So let's get into this, right? Our question today is quite simply, and hopefully we'll go beyond the answer to this if we can at all. Who was the first GAA team to wear a sponsor's logo? So if you want to answer that one quick and then explain how they got to wear a sponsor's logo.
The answer to that one is the Galway Vocational Schools representative team of 1991, who had a tiny logo for Top Oil on the front of their jerseys. Now,
and was it across the front?
No, it wasn't across the middle of the, across the middle of the torso. It was where we would traditionally expect there to be a county logo.
Ah, a crest. So up in the crest corner.
Up in the kind of crest corner of the jersey, this tiny little Top Oil logo. So we may have been expecting that the first sponsor on a GAA jersey might have been on a Dublin team or a Kildare team, but actually it's much less glamorous. It was the Galway Vocational Schools team playing in their All-Ireland final. Because
the hurlers. Was it the hurlers or the footballers?
It was the hurlers, I'm pretty sure. And it was because they were the first team to get the opportunity to do so after a seismic change of policy at the GAA Congress of 1991. So that's the short answer. But it's going to lead us down some very interesting accounts.
Accounts. We're not going to get all bookish about this, are we? Do I have to reach back to my junior cert commerce to understand what's coming next?
No.
Or Can you keep it simple? Just
we'll
keep it simple for
we'll
me.
keep it nice and simple. So they're the first, but only by a matter of hours.
Only by a matter of hours. So in April 91, 7th of April 1991, the GA Congress is held, and as you say, there is a motion passed that allows sponsorship logos on the front of jerseys. Now, as Kieran says, it doesn't happen that simply. It happens. It kind of happens simply in the moment, but the run-in, how long was this going on? How long was this conversation going on?
This conversation is probably going on since the early 80s. But the actual conversations around sponsorship are much older than that, because there's been some form of sponsorship or of the need for benefactors for decades. You know, there are trophies that are sponsored, like the TWA Cup and the Sweet Afton Cup.
Ooh, the Sweet Carolina
those
Smoke.
Of a younger disposition who, you know, those who've grown up with the machine that has no branding on it will have no idea what Sweet Afton is, but Sweet Afton was a tobacco brand, you know.
I believe it's the kind. If my memory serves me right, Sweet Aftons were the kind of cigarette brand that they didn't have any filters.
No
they
filters.
Were tiny. They were so strong that they basically blow your head. You needed a good 2 years of smoking them before you'd actually enjoy them.
They were sailor cigarettes.
They were heavy duty. So they were the Sweet Afton Cup, was it? Sweet Afton Cup?
Yeah, Sweet Afton Cup. And I mean, then gradually over time, we see other things develop that are beyond the GA's control. So there are sponsorships that they don't benefit from. So when we look pre-All-Stars, can you tell me who the Footballer of the Year was for 1965, for example?
Well, I just got to guess. Oh, well, it's going to be a Galway man, isn't it? So I don't know. Was it a Donlan or someone like that? I don't know.
It probably was.
Maybe a Tierney.
That's not even the principle.
Oh, you don't know?
I'm not trying to make that point. The point I'm trying to make
I went into quiz mode. I was like, I should know this. Is it Mick O'Connell?
The Texaco Footballer of the Year.
Yeah.
You know, which wasn't a GAA award, it was a Texaco award. It's like the Phillips Manager of the Month when we hear it now. And they don't have control of that. And in modern sporting parlance, that would be what would be considered by a sport to be leakage, i.e. revenue that's not going to them.
Yes.
That should be. And so that brings us on to, by 1971, the GAA introduce the All-Stars. And the first sponsor is a tobacco company, Carroll's. So at that stage, we're getting a relaxation of rules that will allow for the sponsoring of certain activities. So maybe certain competitions or certain awards. And that's where it begins, really. It begins with the All-Stars. But then it continues on to a point that by the late 1980s, county boards and clubs are able to get sponsorship for their competitions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, their leagues, I'm not certain that they're doing it with their county championships just yet, but certainly leagues. And that's where the GAA starts as well at a national level. The National League becomes the first kind of big sponsorship.
Yeah. And it's probably worth just pointing out before we go any further. I mean, you mentioned the Carroll's All-Stars there. That's 1971. So 71 is when you look back now, 71 is a major moment in this conversation, because you also had that year, the GAA produced basically what was a strategic review and an imagining of where the organization might go for the next 40 years. It was called the McNamee Report, named after Padraig McNamee, the president at the time. And it talks about sponsorship and the notion that sponsorship it's okay to encourage it, provided there are safeguards as to how appropriate the sponsorship was. Now, you know, when we're talking about, you know, with our 21st century glasses on and we look at tobacco and alcohol and so on and so forth, it doesn't seem appropriate in that regard. But in 1971, it was deemed perfectly fine. Although there wasn't Kieran?
There was concerns. There was concern. Yeah, there was concerns at the time. There was
been.
Concerns on two grounds. Number one, that they might find themselves entangled with tobacco companies. I think there's an acceptance at the time that this is a public health issue, even though it's much later that it really becomes regarded
Seen
in
that
that
way.
manner. But so there are dissenters on those grounds, but there's also huge dissent by the then chairman of the Mayo County Board, Father Leo Morahan, about any sponsorship. You know, he's one of those ideologues within the GAA who feels the beauty of it is it's ours, it's amateur, it's purer. We should not be taking money from anywhere. The horse bolts, the Dubs and Kerry develops a rivalry that effectively changes the sport. And both of them become pivotal over the following decade in how sponsorship is addressed. And this happens in tandem with things are changing in other sports. Now, God forbid that they would look across the Irish Sea and wonder about all these Adidas and Umbro and Admiral jerseys.
Nice.
But so the first things we see are the kind of boots, gear. You know, Cork attempt to wear Adidas in the 70s. And there's a huge furore over this. Now, it's not that they're breaking the rule about Irish manufacture. They're actually dealing with an Irish distributor for Adidas, but it's the fact that it's the Adidas brand.
And this is an issue that comes up. Like, I mean, that's the famous, what's known now as a three stripes affair. Kerry had a similar issue before the 82 All-Ireland football final with a special jersey they commissioned for that 5-in-a-row final. They ended up having to pull that, and they got the jerseys they actually ended up wearing were very hastily put together. So that's an ongoing thing, isn't it? Teams are pushing the envelope.
Yeah, and businesses are pushing the envelope. Like, why would Adidas be interested in having their brand on Cork other than, you know, they recognise this now. This is a big spectator and participation sport. We want a piece of that action. So it's the motivation of the businesses as well that's important, not just the GAA. And in the late 70s, shirt sponsorship is introduced in English football. So Bolton Wanderers are the first. Their sponsors are an electronics company called Normand, and we will come back to electronics companies. And that's in a league match in March against Charlton Athletic. But then soon after, Liverpool signed a deal with Hitachi, and suddenly the floodgates are opened. And by 1983, the FA are permitting that you can wear shirt sponsors in the cup. And from that point on, it's a train.
It's only a matter of time.
Because all of these, you know, there's a new marketing strategy developing within business, which is let's attach ourselves to sport. And the GAA can't be immune to that.
And to keep in mind that, you know, the economic situation in Ireland in the early 80s, late 70s was not good. There's an economic reality here. And around that time, we're up to the mid 80s now. So in 1984, part of the GAA's kind of drive around the centenary was to get clubs to start building facilities and improve their conditions at home. So that needs money. And, you know, where are you going to get it from? You're going to get it from, as you said, benefactors, local businesses, wherever you can. But how do you make that more attractive for local businesses if you can't put their name on a jersey or put their name? What do you do?
So that's where things begin with signage. So if we compare how we see games in a stadium now, where you have the uniform sponsors of the championship on one side of the ground, and we look at footage of matches in the 70s, there are some signs around Croke Park in particular for particular brands. And that's what the clubs are going to get, is we can sell signs. But then that opens up the thorny issue around alcohol sponsorship. And we're not talking about a big brand wanting to have their signs in club grounds around the country. We're talking about pubs.
Mm-hmm.
Can they take money from pubs? And this is only resolved at Congress in 1987. So sponsorship is allowed. You can have the signs. You can have competitions sponsored. And ironically enough, while the outgoing president is Dr. Mickey Loftus, who would crusade for most of his life against alcohol sponsorship and the damage that alcohol can do to society, it's on his watch that this is passed, that you can indeed have drinks companies.
Yeah.
Even the terms now, drinks companies can sponsor.
Could be Dwan's.
Yeah. And actually it does.
Or Guinness,
It leads to some interesting engagements with drinks companies when we get to the point that you can have jersey sponsorship.
Love the free episodes of Over the Bar? Then take your passion further with the Cordia Club membership. For €5 a month, you'll unlock bonus series and member-only shows, hear the podcast first and ad-free, and get behind-the-scenes access through detailed notes, a newsletter, and Q&As. It's the ultimate GAA history experience, curated by Michael Foley and Kieran O'Hara just for you. Upgrade your listening, support the show. Join today at overthebar.club.
I mean, we're kind of up to the late 80s now. And I mean, as you said, there is a gathering sort of sense. I don't know what momentum, Kieran, but there's a gathering sense that something has to happen, because you're starting to read things in the newspapers and there's anecdotal evidence of players getting appearance money for turning up with different things, and things that and we're not talking huge bucks here, but
no,
enough to say that there is commercialism in the game. And by the way, we've already heard this in earlier episodes of All-Ireland winning teams coming home, and they go to a town and a wallet of notes will be pressed into the captain's hand for the team and so on. So this is not, I mean, that is a very basic expression of commercialism in the GAA. Appearance money.
Pocket money.
Pocket money, whatever you want to call it.
This is the age where the team holidays begin. Now look, we've had team holidays since the 20s and 30s with teams going to America.
Go to the States.
But now
sometimes not coming back.
Yeah, now it becomes formalised. There's team holidays. And for Cordia members this week, join us for an episode around probably the most controversial of these incidents, which was, it's kind of become known as the Bendix affair with Kerry, but actually it was a broader agreement that they entered into with a company called Carlisle, who made Bendix, Kenwood, a lot of electrical appliances. And Kerry became embroiled in this. So Cordia members, do join us for that episode.
It is a brilliant story. It is so good. I mean, it's for people of a certain age. They will remember the ads in the newspapers before the 1985 All-Ireland football final of the Kerry team gathered around a washing machine, starring Pat Spillane, dressed only in a towel loosely draped around his waist. It caused Manny's to flutter on a Sunday morning, but that's a brilliant story, and it tells us so much more. It drills us in so much more into the environment at the time, doesn't it? And why and how Kerry, in particular, and the Dubs you mentioned, shaped that landscape. But anyway, that's for, as you say,
that's just a broader sense of there's an arms race now, and why are GAA county boards looking for sponsorship? They're looking for sponsorship because they're actually losing money. So if we take the example, and when I say the figures, even adjusted for inflation, they don't seem that big anymore. In 1990, Kilkenny recorded a loss of 17,000, and the team expenses for the year had been 77,000. So the former GAA president at the time, Paddy Buggy, implored the consideration of sponsorship money to lighten that load. He says that they can't afford, as a governing body for the clubs in their county, to be carrying losses like that because of putting out teams. And, that causes echoes across the association. There are many more counties that can relate to this.
It's a common issue. And I mean, by this stage, as you mentioned, you do have sponsorship is beginning to appear in Dublin, for example. Local leagues are being sponsored.
Dublin have an agreement at this stage, kind of post-87, with a non-alcoholic drink brand, Caliber, which was,
I remember them.
The original 0-0 lager, if you like.
With 0-0 taste.
Famously with the Billy Connolly ad, with the ever-increasing glass sizes. You can drink as much as you like. So
if you want to.
If you really want to.
If you're brave enough.
That's one that's an early engagement. And that's Guinness at the time. Caliber is a Guinness brand. So Dublin are engaged with them. And actually, not surprisingly then, it is Dublin that bring the motion in 1991 to open up jersey sponsorship. And it was expected to be contentious, but it gets its 2/3 majority pretty easily.
But, only barely, I think, if we look at it.
It's
So
66.8, but I mean, there were votes to spare.
But they needed a 2/3 majority, 66.8. They had about 2 fingers on one hand to spare. And what's brilliant about this, I mean,
some of the votes may have been spoiled. Let's be honest.
Well, let's get to that, and we'll get to that right now. But just to paint a picture for people about GAA Congress, it's slightly different now because now you go in and everybody has little electronic buzzers for thaw or kneel, and you press the buzzer that you want to.
There's no suspense.
There's no counties are mandated more, so you have a good sense of how things are going to go. Back then, counties delegates went. It was sometimes show of hands with your voting card. You put your hand up with your voting card. So if a vote looked if you had a motion and loads of hands went up, they weren't even counted. It was like, yep, carry. If it looked close, you might have to have tallymen walking through the room. Keep your hands up, lads. Keep your hands up, counting them as you go. So we're talking now about and it was being discussed, to be fair, in these terms as a major decision for the GAA to make. Now, you reckon that 66.8 is a comfortable 2/3 majority. I tell you what.
Okay, well, look, maths is not my strong point.
I'm feeling pretty uncomfortable if I'm in the pro-sponsorship lobby with those kind of numbers, right? But as you say, it's a little bit haphazard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't passed at all.
Well, I mean, there's a story which has gone around since that one delegate was using their buffet card to vote as opposed to their actual voting card.
I've been to enough of these.
We'll never know.
Oh, listen!
If his voting card had been accepted in exchange for the carvery, but
I've been to enough of these to tell you that sounds utterly plausible. A gravy-stained luncheon voucher, even gravy-stained before you even got the lunch, probably went up and voted in favour of sponsorship. But it gets through.
Yeah.
As you say, 66.8, 194 in favour, 96 against. Listeners, you can do the sums yourself and tell us how comfortable that was.
And you'll definitely be better at the sums than we will.
The interesting thing, Kieran, and the thing that people might remember about the first sponsorship logos is that the rule says, the rule is quite loose in one sense, that it doesn't say where you can put it. So, for example, the Galway Vocational Schools team would have been well within their rights to put it right across their chests if they want their oil logo rather than the top and up by their shoulders. But the space covered by the logo could not exceed more than 100 square centimeters. Now that's like 10 centimeters high or something like that, isn't it? It's very small. It's tiny.
And when they initially come in, and this may actually have been, when you think of it now, marketing genius. Because you had to really look to figure out who the sponsors were.
Really did. Squint.
Yeah.
Squint. Big time.
And it begins immediately. Like Kildare are in the National League final that year, and they're one of the first out the gap. They've got their tiny black text on the lily white jersey. And then what ensues afterwards, as I've said, becomes messy. Like even Dublin, who have introduced the motion, will have 3 jersey sponsors by the time we get to a significant sponsorship in the championship.
And how do the Dubs, because as you said, the Dubs have had Calibre as sponsoring their leagues and so on. They have a relationship. How do they end up? I mean, everybody will now think Arnott's, right? Yeah, Dubs, Arnott's, right? But how do they get from Calibre to Arnott's? How do they make a hames of it?
Well, it's just the confusion around pre-existing arrangements. So Calibre assume, being a Dublin sponsor.
Oh dear.
We're going to have the jersey sponsorship, but actually the county board are No. That's for leagues and competitions. It's not to be the blue ribbon sponsor of the Dublin team. And if you want this, you can pay us more, and they don't meet in the middle. So it goes from kind of Calibre being preemptively announced as the first Dublin sponsor to not actually being the first Dublin sponsor. And then you have National Irish
There's legal
Bank.
action. There's legal action.
There's a
on everything,
legal
right?
action over this, yeah. Then National Irish Bank become the sponsor, but it's an ad hoc arrangement. It's like National Irish Bank for a game.
So this is the National League final now. This is
Yeah,
Football League
so
final that happens after the Galway game that we mentioned before.
Yeah, so this is Dublin versus Kildare in a National League final. They've both got sponsors, but what Dublin were on that occasion is National Irish Bank. And then we get into Championship. And remember, Mick, this is 1991. Something big happens in the Championship in 1991. Dublin play Meath. And
Yeah. The war to end all wars.
4 games. Now, you'll know this better than I do. So how many sponsors appear over the course of those 4 games?
I know that for game 1, they didn't have a deal. National Irish Bank, I don't think got in there at all in the end. They couldn't work it out. So after game 1 is a draw, then Arnott's come in. And I remember the figure, it was 100 grand, but it was like a 3-year deal. So you're talking 30 odd grand.
Yeah.
So Arnott's are, but again, in the style of the Galway vocational schools, Arnott's is very discreetly just up the top corner of their jersey for game 2. But by game 3, it's right there.
Yeah,
right
the Marketeers are getting savvy. Now, on the Meath side.
Well, I mean, I think it's, I'm going to get, this will be the memory of more or less everybody of a certain age. It's Keepack.
But it wasn't at first.
And
that causes issues within Meath. So Meath's initial sponsor is a transport company. But Keepack have been benefactors for years. So this needs to be formalized. And that's actually what occurs is they just kind of go, well, we need to be practical about this. Keepack have been looking after us for a long time. They're a big employer in the county. They're very good to us. Let's make this happen. And that's what happens. And now it's hard to imagine.
Well, you just don't think.
A Meath jersey without Keepack on it.
Keepack. It's kind of, it reminds you, certainly from that era, but it reminds you how, as you say, ad hoc is the word, and how fast this. So after, if you run back to 71, after nearly 20 years of debate and kind of working on how can this work, suddenly they're required to get all this in place, all the rules and everything else and the deals in place in the space of about a month between Congress and the championship starting and the National Leagues finishing up. I think Wexford had Buckler, I think, in the league semi-final, hurling semi-final the same day. You had a lot of different, and again, non-alcoholic drink. Was Buckler
Buckler was a non-alcoholic lager.
You have all of this stuff. You have what size can they be? Yeah, okay, 10 centimeters square, 100 cent, no more than 100 centimeters. Where can they be? Well, you can put them wherever you want, basically, the logo. And then, as you say, there's a lot of nod and winks and kind of understanding from the sponsor side, these guys who've been supporting county. But no, you're not just going to be the sponsor. There's money in them there hills, and we need to discuss this, and Dublin Meath accelerate everything. So already, as you say, it's messy. There's an element of, we don't want to look too grabby, but we know our worth, or we're getting a handle on our worth. The thing that always struck me, Kieran, looking back at this era, was some of the commentary, whether you were in favor of sponsorship or against the idea of sponsorship, it was very, very prescient. People knew from the very beginning what the potential ramifications of opening up sponsorship. It wasn't just going to reduce county budgets, was it? This was bigger than anything.
The best quotes you will find from this time are by a former colleague of mine, an old friend of yours from your days of September, Eugene McGee. And writing in May 1991, this is what he said. The advent of jersey advertising will increase the pressure for more television coverage. We will shortly have more competition for television rights. We can expect some GAA grounds will be floodlit so that night games can take place, and these will be shown on television. big money sponsors will want the big name players and teams, and we will be prepared to go to great lengths to get them on their books.
And it all came to... I mean, that is essentially...
And that's before the 4 Dublin Meath games, but he's called it.
Yeah, he's called it. It is essentially a rough outline sketch of the GA we have now.
Yeah.
30 odd years before it actually, all of it ever comes to pass. But the moment that the will is there among the establishment as well. You mentioned Paddy Buggy. On the morning after that Congress decision in the Sunday Independent, I mean, here's a pairing to have in the Sunday Indo. Marty Morrissey talks to Jack Lynch. Could you get any better? Marty Morrissey, not quite yet, the revered broadcaster and personality he will become. And Jack Lynch, obviously one of Cork's all-time great GA personalities, former Taoiseach and all the rest of it. And Jack Lynch is open. He talked about being open to the idea of Croke Park as a national stadium. He doesn't particularly like the idea that competitions have now to be called Brand X League or the Brand X Championship or whatever. But there's an economic reality here, and there's an ambition among counties and clubs to improve themselves and improve their lot. So it is hard to stem that tide, and you kind of have to go with it. And I suppose, what do you think? I mean, I'm going to put this to you, right? I do think it did play a role in this regard, but do you think that decision, unavoidable probably as it was, to allow sponsorship in, did it ultimately kind of weaponize and almost nuclearize sort of the arms race in terms of preparation, teams kind of devoting even more and more time, players being forced into more and more time to just make teams and be successful, that it just upped the ante, turned the dials up on everything to a point that the GA is now, if it's not already overheating, it's very close to it.
Like, there's a clear delineation. So it starts with, okay, now we can bring in sponsorship. What benefit do we derive from that? We can prepare our teams better. We can be more competitive. Suddenly every team's preparing better. By the late 1990s, then there's a clamour for, well, we can't do this for one game a year. Then the GPA comes along. Then it's, well, we need more games to sustain all of this. And you end up at a point where more games means longer training. Like, if we take 1991 as an example, ordinarily the team that loses that game between Dublin and Meath are done for the year. There's no more cost associated with training them. But they train for a number of weeks. They get stronger. One loses. They're out. We need to do better next year. That's where the arms race begins. And then when we get to a point where group stages, round robin games, for every game we watch, there is an associated cost with the training. So we go from that point to this. And it just increases the demand for more revenue to fund that.
Love GAA history? Then you love going deeper with Over the Bar's Cordia Club membership. For just €5 a month, you'll get exclusive member-only episodes and series, early ad-free access to the main podcast, plus detailed show notes, a newsletter, and the chance to have your questions answered. Join Michael Foley and Kieran O'Hara as they uncover the stories, the legends, and the questions that shaped our games. Don't just listen, be part of the club. Join now at overthebar.club.
I don't think there's any doubt that the decision to allow sponsorship into the GA in 1991 is one of the major landmark moments in the history of the GA. It's right up there.
I would just add one other thing that...
Oh, here we go. PS.
The PS is, again, context of a sporting environment and a marketing environment in Ireland. Something seismic occurred the year before. There was something of an existential threat to the GAA, and that was Italia 90.
Of course.
And, the success of the soccer team at that time was bringing huge revenue to the FAI. Now, the GAA, irrespective of what domain you look upon it, has always seen itself in competition with other sports and seen itself as the big dog. And I think there's a tacit acknowledgement on their part. They need to redevelop Croke Park. They need to find a way to develop the games. They need to pay for training of teams. They need to pay for team holidays. They also realise that they can't afford to just give all that money to the other sports. They have to keep some of it. So I think Italia 90 is actually critical in the whole scale of things as well. I mean, It is a very different time. And I mentioned Eugene McGee's comments, but Paddy Downey, writing in the Irish Times at the time, the late great Irish Times Gaelic Games correspondent, he wrote, "The door is now wide open, and a short way down the road, players will be allowed to accept payment for endorsing products and other undertakings off the field. The next step, not too far on, will be pay for play. Rugby union is moving along the same road. The last major amateur games in the world are running like lemmings towards the precipice." Now, we haven't quite reached pay for play, but we've reached situations where there are benefits for the sacrifice made by players. We can see the difference. Rugby union happened to be an international game, and it fully professionalised on the back of its internationalisation. The GAA has had to have a very delicate balance to preserve its amateur status in a world where they're the blue ribbon. They're the one that all the brands want to be attached to.
Yeah, I think there's like, when I think of sponsorship and the decision to open up the gates of sponsorship within the GA, I would absolutely say that this story, this moment is one of the most important and major landmark moments in the history of the GA. I mean, for me, it's right up there with the formalizing of rules for hurling and football. Anything you want to pick, it's right there, because it has absolutely shaped the landscape over the past 30 odd years, and it has created the conditions for the GA itself and the playing of it, and how the games are played, and what people's expectations of what the GA will offer. It's shaped all that. Kieran, beautifully told. That was fascinating. Just running through, even just that year of 1991 was just an incredible. When you think of it, Dublin Mead sponsorship comes in. I mean, it was a real kind of hinge moment. One door closing, another open for the GA.
And finished with a down All-Ireland win.
Yes. Now, who were their sponsors? Now.
Well, like, the text was so small.
Yeah. So here's what we're going to do. Right?
Hold on.
Here's what we're going to do.
Kirsten Hunick.
Oh, well done. That you pulled that one out of the back of like a piece of blue tack in the back of your head there. You just the back of your mind. Got it. So here we go, right? I actually have all of the 1991 sponsors here in front of me. Let's see now if you can rewind back to your 1991 self, because I know there are people from all over the country now listening going, yeah, I remember our county had this crowd and the Cork lads know who it is. Let's see how many of these you have. Now, there are a number that did not have any sponsor all year. It took them a year to get properly organised. But here we go. We'll do it in alphabetical order, see how you get on, okay? So, right. Antrim.
No, don't know.
It's not happening, is it? Okay, Mackey's Foundry. If anybody who worked in Mackey's Foundry is listening in, let us know. That must have been fun, because, first sponsor ever of Antrim. Armagh.
Morgan Fuels.
Oh, that's a couple of years on. Mooney Windows, a window company. So far we have a foundry and a window company. Now, Carlow, Cavan, Clare had none. Okay, here's your starter for 10, the proper starter for 10. Cork.
Oh, look, that was the biggest one at the time. Because obviously
still quite small.
But the double winners from the previous year, Barry's Tea.
Absolutely. Derry.
Sperrin Metals.
You see, that's the one we'd all think, isn't it? But in 1991, it was Car Hill Car Sales. Is that still going? Is Car Hill still there? Please tell us. Donegal.
McGee Taylor.
No, I just going to stop you. That was the following year. Good guess. Donegal Chips. No, I don't know what that...
Chips as in, like, is that stone or is it something we can consume?
Is it gravel or something that needs salt and vinegar? I don't know. Down, you got Kirsten Hunick, fair play. Dublin, come on, reel off the dubs there.
Okay, so National Irish Bank and Arnott's.
And who's the other one? There's a third.
Who are?
Oh, come on! You spent about 10 minutes
Calibre.
Talking about them. Thank you. Good Lord. Fermanagh.
Tracy Concrete.
Bang on. One of the great sponsors.
Wow, still there
all the way through. Still there. Galway.
I'm going to say.
So you're trying to
Tommy Varden.
Yeah. You see, you're overthinking it now, because you're overthinking it. Supermax. Some of these are traditional great sponsors. Kerry
Co-op.
Bang on. Kerry Group. Bang on. Kildare.
I know this. Pittman Moore.
Very good. I think they were with this. Veterinary supplies. I'm not sure. Kilkenny.
Mahon McPhillips.
Excellent. Got to the 91 All-Ireland hurling final. Laois. I love the Laois one. This is a crew I could have got with.
I'm going to say something like Dawn Meats.
Oh, you're so close. You're so close. Master Pork. Can you imagine the hampers of sausages coming in?
Yeah.
coming into the Turleys and all the lads back then, fair play, and they earned every single sausage that they did. Leitrim.
No.
Gandon. I'm not sure who Gandon are, but please let us know. Limerick. This long silence is telling me you're in trouble again.
Golden Vale.
I've actually bang on. I've actually stopped counting, I'll be honest, because this is pretty
I'm not sure how fascinating this is for the listeners, but maybe it's triggering something.
Well, or maybe it's triggering something. Longford had nobody. Loud.
I'm going to say someone like IABP or something like that.
Oh, you're so close. It's actually AIBP.
Oh, well, you knew what I was talking about.
I give you that one. I know, you got to know this one, obviously. Mayo. Oh, for God's sake. Come on. Something.
Univet Curazao.
No, just stop. You're embarrassing yourself now. Mayo, Connacht Gold. Was that a dairy?
Oh, it should have been obvious, yeah. Like, that's
Connacht
NCF,
Gold.
yeah. North Connacht Farmers, yeah.
Well, there you go. Where are you from again? What part of Mayo are you from?
Yeah, move on.
Yeah, North Mayo. Meads, we know O'Reilly Transport and Keepack, right? Let me just remind the singers after the Calibre debacle earlier. Monaghan had none. Offaly. And you can keep it. What do you think? What's the first one that comes to mind? Just give me the first
Carol's.
Bang on. Carol Meats. Roscommon had actually 2 sponsors. They were in great demand this summer. Actually got to an All-Ireland semi-final.
Roscommon.
The year of Derek Duggan's great.
I'm going to say like Lynch Roofing.
Burn Electric and the Spa Hotel. I'm not sure where the Spa Hotel is.
Spa Hotel is Lucan, I think, yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's of course it could be, yeah. Sligo had none. Tyrone had none. Waterford had none. Westmeath had none. So there's only 3 left. Tipperary.
Finches,
good. Fair guess, but completely wrong. Tipperary Water.
Guess.
Ballygown's great nemesis back in the day. Wexford. We've mentioned Wexford.
We know they had Buckler at one stage.
Oh, there you go. How come Buckler comes straight to mind? You spent 10 minutes talking about Calibre. Right. And the last one. Wicklow. Well, I mean, if you can't remember the 1991 Wicklow jersey, they had a great season that year.
Vintage.
Very, very disappointing. They actually did. Did they not take me to a replay that year as well? I think they did. Anyway, I'm going to put you out your misery. You're shaking your head there and you look like a guy who just needs to lie down. Kilcool Opal.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I absolutely would have got that, yeah.
You got about 3 there, I'd say.
Okay, yeah.
Foundry, window company, car sales places, concrete, veterinary supplies, meat plants, chip manufacturers. We're not sure what kind of chip.
Not a single multinational, really.
No, not really. No, clothes manufacturers, hotels.
No telephone companies or... Yeah.
Not yet, but it's on the way. It's on the way. Kieran, thanks again. Commiserations on that quiz performance. It was awful. I don't know, will we do that again? I don't want to embarrass you that badly.
Yeah, maybe just some forewarning, Michael, would be helpful.
What, like give you the answers? Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. In any event,
listen,
if you're a Cards member, join us.
Oh, you want to hang in for this one now?
No. If you're a Cards member, join us for the story of that Kerry team in the mid-80s. And brilliant. The sponsorship debacle that revolved around Bendix and the washing machines.
Just so people understand, when we were researching this episode, I wandered into the Bendix story as a kind of an aside, as kind of, that's another example of the increasing commercialization of the game at the time. And inside of about 5 minutes, realised, good Lord, this goes in every last single direction you can possibly imagine. There's a borderline revolt in this at a time when Kerry were just accumulating all Ireland's to be.
Well, the question could have been what prompted a revolt by the Kerry All Ireland winners.
Well, I believe you've just asked the question that we will now answer.
So listen, folks, thanks again. Until next time, Salam.
See you.